I'd like to introduce you to our presenter, Doug Robey. Doug is Vice President of Maintenance Training and Reliability at GP Strategies. With over 20 years of experience in adult learning and maintenance training consulting, Mr. oversees the strategic approaches and successful launch of performance improvement projects throughout a variety of market sectors, including energy, manufacturing, electronics, steel, process, and many others. Mr. is an active member of ASTD, the Institute, and Association of Iron and Steel Technology. Before joining GP Strategies in 1996, Mr. Robey served in the United States Navy for 12 years as lead sonar technician and maintenance materials manager in the U.S. Navy Surface Force. For GP Strategies out of our Tampa, Florida office. And with that, I'd like to turn the session over to you.
Everybody for joining. We have a half hour here to get through the information. Like I said, my background, this is my 20th year with GP. Prior to that, U.S. Navy, where I did a lot of planning, scheduling on my last tour in a minesweeper. So I basically have 30-plus years in the maintenance and reliability field. Like I said, the last 20 years working with GP and helping various clients, types of industries. Hopefully the information is valuable to you. Main focus of this, helping companies reduce waste on the maintenance side. If you look at the history of production, a lot of time and effort in the past has been spent on the production side. A lot of lean activities have happened over the years. A lot of savings has occurred, but maintenance is really the last area, real cost savings that's left out there that companies still haven't taken full advantage of. So this presentation, it really focuses on lean strategy and proper plan for what to say is one plan fits all. Every business, every facility is different. So I like to focus on what is the business driver at your facility or your company. That will give you the plan that's going to best give you the best return on investment, and that's what it's all about, is giving a return on investment to your company. So go ahead, next slide. It's the single controllable cost opportunity out there is maintenance, and based on their company, they put out that 100 to 300 million a year corporate-wide can be saved. DuPont is one of the leaders out there that I've seen in the past that have taken the time and effort to put a reliability program in place, and they've seen huge return on investment from that. And as you can see below that, I believe this is from Penn State Research, it is estimated that waste in excess of 200 to 500 billion each year throughout the U.S. opportunities are waste with effective maintenance practices that are out there. So you can see there's a lot of waste out there. It's a good place to start, return on investment, and that's one of the plans go through here at the rest of this presentation. Reduction benefits, 3 to 7 times spend reductions are possible. That's out there, and closing the gap can give between a 50 to 250% internal rate of return. Now, it's a big, great number depending on what year you're in and what maintenance practices that you guys have. But the studies are out there. There's a lot of programs and a lot of information available to companies that can support and get you where you want to be. Is kind of our approach to the maintenance and reliability process. A lot of you probably seen similar things out there, or a lot more complicated things out there is a good way to put it. There's different methodologies out there. What we're trying to do is we're trying to simplify the approach on the strategy side. Obviously the devil's in the details, but we really want to focus on coming up with the right strategy, and then once you get strategy and vision, the pieces and parts are going to fit into that strategy and vision for your company. That's where companies like ours, I believe, can be a true help to you guys. We've been in different industries, depending on if it's energy, food and beverage, government, you name it. What we've seen worked in those different industries and see if it's going to fit your type of industry. So, Coach, if you look at this slide, you'll see the lead in asset strategy. Everything begins. So, vision and strategy first go. So, coming up with that can be a tedious task if you don't know where you're going or your company doesn't have a vision for their business. Is tie this maintenance reliability strategy to that business vision. Without that, it will fall flat. You will end up wasting your time and energy. Once you come up with a good vision and asset strategy, it's a matter of what parts that are going to fit into that strategy. Are the operators going to, clean and inspect minor maintenance type duties? Are they going to lubricate? These are jobs that operators can perform, which will free up maintenance really to do what they should be doing, which is active maintenance. Part of this is maintenance level. A lot of places that I've seen and a lot of the background that we have as GP is on the maintenance side. So we see a lot of companies as a varied workforce. Some guys are great, some guys are not trained. So the problem is goes out, he installs a new pump. Person A is installing it different than person B from a precision standpoint. Two down the line, you notice bearings are going bad. You're noticing that you have to go back in and do work on that pump because the precision skills weren't there. So does the program you work on or you try to implement, if you're or operators, if they're doing frontline reliability, aren't trained with the proper skills in hand, and also will go out to lunch because equipment needs to be installed correctly, inspected correctly, lubricated correctly. It's all base maintenance, but I hear quite a bit companies are still struggling with that capability. Piece of the puzzle we talk about is work execution, the crux of maintenance. And if you have your G and your plan all in place, you need to execute the work correctly and execute the work, but are doing the correct work. And I'll talk about this in a little bit. Set proper maintenance and the proper work is very critical. You're doing too many PMs. You may not be doing enough PMs. There may not be the right PMs. You may need a PM. Maybe it's depending on the critical piece of equipment, it may be something you want to move to more of a predictive type work or monitoring type work. To the last piece, which is the online monitoring. I know energy, maybe oil and gas, you'll see a lot more online monitoring. For critical equipment, obviously in the power industry, you can't afford to have anything go down, so remote monitoring is very important. This should be a part of your maintenance strategy and plan when your critical equipment is, if it's cost effective. Now you need to do the risk analysis up front to find out if it's to be cost effective, but it is. If it is, monitoring is a great way to go. Come up with how are you going to sustain what you're doing and improve on that. This is where a lot of these programs fail. This is where GP's history with all the different industries and clients comes into play very well. We can come up with continuous improvement to sustain where you're at and improve where you want to go, whether it's programs, whether it's improvement programs type processes. We can bring what we've done to the table out there. So in a nutshell, reliability excellence bridges the gap from leadership and vision with attitude to continuous improvement and sustainability through frontline reliability, precision maintenance, work execution, and condition monitoring. Next. To start is, does your facility or your company have a maintenance and reliability excellence strategy? A lot of walk in and they'll say, yes, we do have a strategy, and we'll dive deep in that. And what they may say is, we want the equipment never to break. Well, it's perfect, that's nice, but it's not really a strategy. I asked, do you have goals? Do you have key performance indicators in place? Does it into the business drivers? Does it tie into your availability? When I was in maintenance, I always thought my job was to fix it as quick as I can. I learned real quick that the goal of maintenance is to make sure that equipment is ready to go whenever operations ask for it. I was in the middle of the Persian Gulf back in the 80s, and if the equipment wasn't ready, that was good. So the goal is to have the equipment ready and operational whenever it's called upon. So it kind of changed my philosophy on maintenance, and from there it kind of evolved and grew in the reliability process. So a plan, that's one of the first things we talk about, is what is your strategy for maintenance? What are your goals, and how does it tie into the business driver that your company has? What we see are vague or something that's not documented, no goal timelines, no clear map of processes. What we see is a kind of tactics that usually evolve around something happening. A piece of equipment broke, so everybody overreacts. Let's put 1,000 PMs in there. And then what we end up doing is we're over PMing this piece of equipment and not doing the condition base that we should be doing. And what we end up doing is every time you open up a piece of equipment, you have the ability of putting a defect in there. So sometimes there's overreaction, and it doesn't tie to a strategy. And as the quote says down there from Lao Tzu, strategy without tactics is the slow route to victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. I think there's a lot of credence in that saying. I think before it goes down this path, they must have a clear strategy of where to go and how they want to get that. But you have to know, where are we as a facility? Where are we as a company on the maintenance side? Do we're spending on maintenance? Whether parts rate, RO, you name it. What are we spending? Here, the second one's the most important one that I always talk to clients about. If you're critical, what is the cost if a critical piece of equipment goes down for 5, 10, 2 hours, whatever it might be? That information documented, because the cost and reliability can be millions and millions of dollars. That's an important factor when we're looking at the proper strategy for a company. What percent of your work is reactive to the total maintenance that you're doing? Is your PMs, are you only getting 40, 50% of the PMs that you have in there? Yeah, maybe you're completing 100% of your PMs, but your availability is not getting better. There's a problem there. So we need to what is the current situation currently have, and that data gives us a clear path to the strategy. And do you have major outages? Do you have major delays that are coming from equipment that's going down? So, and that can be an operational or a maintenance type of thing. So, and when stuff does break, do you have a root cause process in place? These are all things we look at up front, get clarity to come up with the right strategy for each of our clients. Next. Here has a lot of information, stuff we come up with over the past that we've seen when we walk into a facility on why their maintenance processes aren't working. A couple a second ago, it'd be often you got tasks that are time-based that shouldn't be time-based. You may have poor troubleshooting techniques. That's a very common problem out there. Is we have technicians, from 20 years down to 2 years, and they don't troubleshoot. They're part swappers. They have a problem, they come in, and what they end up doing is replacing parts. That's money, and not to mention, if you're constantly swapping parts, you're buying parts. So troubleshooting is a key factor in cost savings for the future, and it comes with training. You need to be trained in the proper troubleshooting techniques. You need to be trained in the process of whatever you're making, and that process in and out. As I up through the maintenance people were guys that understood the process, could even operate the process. So, part of it is, does your maintenance staff understand exactly from a process standpoint how things are supposed to work? You may have wrong PM implementation in place. This is back to the maintenance strategy. I'm not going to go through them all, but there is a lot of different things that we find issues with the maintenance and reliability side of things. Now, we talked about strategy, what we can bring to the table, but what we found is the maintenance manager, even ops manager, can have these great strategies. If it doesn't tie into the company's vision of where they're trying to go, there's a good chance this is not going to succeed. One of the most important processes or things to be addressed is executive sponsorship. If there's vision with the company and we have a good executive sponsor that's going to clear the path for a lot of things that need to get done, these processes work very, very well. So, when we have strategies, I want to make sure that strategy is tied to the company vision. And it needs to be a clear, sharp, detailed, and inspiring. The commitment and energizes people. You want people motivated doing this, and that has to do with culture change. Not putting the right in place and people motivated to do this, all can fail. And then what you end up doing is spend a lot of money and no changes, and everybody gets in the line because we're improving, we're getting worse. So sponsorship, having the right people on the team is very important, especially if you're doing where you're picking one area to kind of do a proof of concept. I would say you need to find the right people on that team, people that can make things happen. It's very important. So, clear vision is really the most important part of making sure this thing works. The pieces and parts after that will fall into place, but you got a clear vision strategy in place that the executive leadership is on board with and will sponsor. Next. To do this, we need to focus on where are the gaps. Issues out there. We talked about this a little bit, but we need to find what are areas that we can improve upon. So we've done what strategies we've done in the past, picking a small vertical that we can show improvement because you have proof of concept, things go a lot quicker, faster. A lot of companies will focus on just go to your Maximo or SAP and you look at what's costing us the most money. What are we replacing the most of? And a lot of times, if you go through the root cause, you may find out that, okay, we aren't trained to properly. We're through millions of dollars worth of bearings a year. So one of the quick gaps could be we can do a precision program to come in and try properly on bearing installation and alignment procedures. And then you can going forward to see if we're burning through as many. And that could be a quick hit, quick return on investment. And that you haven't even started putting processes in place. You're just trying to find the quick gaps that you can focus on. In outside perspective, cars that are in multiple industries that have seen different programs in different industries, and to say they all work, it's a matter of what works for you, what works for your company. It's a hybrid. It could be a TPM, RCM, or PM optimization. It's a long, drawn-out process that's great in the beginning, but if your facility is 20, 30 years, it's probably not the right philosophy you want to go with. Now, the failure modes are great, but you don't want to start from the very beginning because it's already 20 years old. So there's different programs we can bring into place. And I think we can bring some of the best practices around from different industries. Next. We go through the whole vision strategy. We do want to focus on what are KPIs or key performance indicators we want to bring to the table. And a lot of this is we want to keep it very focused and simple. We don't need 20 KPIs. We don't need 10 KPIs. keep it really to 5 or less. We've shown a bunch here, but really focusing on areas of improvement. Have it is, as you hear, standards and standard work. Frontline craft skills to eliminate defects. To me, is you can call it hanging fruit, whatever you want. I'm a big proponent of frontline reliability and the operators understanding how the equipment works, how to tune the equipment properly, how to inspect the equipment properly. Basically, they're right away, and they should have the ability to either put that work request in or take care of the defect if it's something real simple. Even do lubrication, routes, train them on the routes, train them on tribology. It's all stuff that I feel operators can handle. Now, I do understand based on bargaining units, this can happen depending on your situation. You have operators perform some of these tasks. It really frees up maintenance to do what they should be doing. KPI is obviously planning on the work execution side. Doing the right work, do the right parts in the system, everything set up correctly in here. Are we delivering the parts to the site? Our stores, provide 95% plus level. Various KPIs that we can put in place that can help track, and these are both leading and lagging indicators that I think can help. Before, we had 100% schedule compliance, but availability better. That's a problem that needs to be looked at. So either we're not doing PMs correctly, or we have the wrong PMs. So that is very important. Cmms utilization. There's a lot of tools out there from the CMMS side. Many companies utilize the whole tool. Maintenance people should be trained thoroughly on the tool, not just to put their time in, not just to order parts, but if there's something wrong, using the failure modes that have been put into place. All that should have failure modes, and the maintenance people should be able to go in there and click in the system, basically what it is, and have a complete history of every asset doing work on. This in the long run gives you the data you need when you need to go out there and redesign equipment or buy new equipment. That way you're showing a good savings to your company. And on the side, PM, PDM, condition-based maintenance, what is our strategy in this arena, and what KPIs are we going to set up? Obviously, energy, we use a lot of remotely because of the importance. You're a small food and beverage company, it's not the right route to be more peace, or you may have predictive that to go out and do vibration or infrared or ultrasonic, depending what it might be. So coming up with the right strategy with the right KPIs and have everybody understand and be on board for improvement really helps the process. Next. Sum up the whole leadership and strategy side. We need to have a vision, we need to know where we're at, we need to know where we want to be, and come up with a good strategy. And then once that strategy is in place, then we standardize the work. And we need to have a complete manager change process. So it should be a living process that's getting better. And as that happens, there needs to be a control loop that goes back to the people to know how the management of change process works. So whether I'm changing a process, PMs, whatever it might be, we have a good process in place that communicates properly to the people. Next. And of course, some of the common strategies you'll see, TPM, RCM, PMO, they're all programs. So it's finding what is best for your industry, for your facility, for your company. If you're doing, if you for 20, 30 years, you have older equipment, it may not be the best. The parts in them are great. The failure modes part, I don't care if your equipment is 50 years old but it's still operating. If you don't have the failure modes on that, you're doing a service to yourself and to your employees. I'm a huge proponent of the failure mode process, especially critical equipment, understanding what that asset fail, and then using your personnel, operations or maintenance. Therefore, if you find it quicker and plan the work, it goes down when you plan the work, then you're doing your job. If it breaks down, there's a problem somewhere. Next. And then, just reiterating what I just said, this just goes through the process itself. Now, what I talked about before in the leadership and strategy side is under critical equipment. If you know what your most critical equipment is, a criticality analysis, I believe, is a great way to go. One criticality process, understanding what my top critical pieces of equipment are, then I can make the right decisions from a maintenance strategy standpoint. Because pay too much or too little to your assets. So critical to my process, to my maintenance staff is very important. So the criticality analysis up front, if you don't have that, is really the first step that needs to happen in the ability process. And into the pieces and parts, so frontline reliability. I think this was the best thing TPM had when it first came out from the Japanese. Huge proponent of TPM, but the thing the most was greater autonomous maintenance of it. As I mentioned, production, working with maintenance, understanding how to clean the equipment, lubricate the equipment, the frontline defense. The savings is huge there. So that's something we have processes that we can bring to the table. We have board games that we can bring to the facility from the plant manager all the way down to the storekeeper to get the processes in place. We have very creative ways of getting a process out to the people. Next. Now, part of where we came from as GP over the years was craft skills training. As in catalog 55 to 70 off-the-shelf craft skills based on our history. Excuse me. Maintenance over the last 30-plus years. We can bring precision-type courses to the table from base lubrication, alignment, power transmission, to all the electrical, all the way through PLC, instrumentation, process control. It should be at a core level when it comes to precision maintenance. So if you're installing something or troubleshooting something, everybody should have that same level. This gives you, as a manager, plant manager, it kind of gives you a better stability when you do have problems out there. You know, if you're a guy who's never been trained, but he only knows, he learned from guys from years past, you don't know if you learned the right thing. So train people to a core. I think a core is a very good way to go. And we focus heavily on the precision skills that craftsmen should have, or operators should have on the frontline ability. And this includes a skills assessment. We come out there, you can come with interviews and to come up with a written and hands-on assessment to give you an idea of what some of the base gaps are, and then you can quickly fill those gaps with the proper training. And then GP offers matrices on all these different areas. So whether it's planning and scheduling, craft skills, we can provide what I call gap analysis matrices. So what it is, this is an example of PMs observed through best practice. You go on there and see what you're doing or not doing to kind of rate yourself where you fall. Indicators to understand what really is best in class out there, what companies are doing, and you can compare yourself to that. So depending on the areas, this is stuff that we can provide Anybody in my group can provide these at no cost to anyone who's interested. Next. Part that we talk about, we talked about, CM, some of the TPM. Another tool is PM optimization. As before, you guys, maybe doing PMs, you're performing the PMs, but availability is not getting better. Utilization is a great way to go through to make sure you're doing the right on those assets. We can with very credible people, any tool that can support PM optimization and find the best P should be doing. What doing is it can free up to 6 times the maintenance task that a maintenance person has. Really, we find 30% of all PMs either don't apply or they're redundant. Next. Scheduling, here's another matrix that we can bring to the table so you see kind of where you fall with your facility or with your company. Next. Online this has been a core competency of GP for the last plus years. Bring to the table because in the power industry, we did the performance monitoring. Now have the capability of doing vibration monitoring for your critical equipment. So we can bring the proper instruments to the table that can be measured remotely through our remote centers or something you guys can do yourselves. If your equipment's that critical, we can come up with the right strategy to help set this up. Over last slide, but the importance that we want to talk about is, and I went over a lot of different areas, is coming up with the right strategy and vision for your company. So you know what that is. I think the pieces and parts of all the different processes that have out to date, and parts of those can work for you. It's just which ones do, picking the right KPIs to work towards, and coming up with the right projects to take on. And seeing here, we talk about a quick win, and we have long-range goals. Which maintenance reliability program takes 3 to 5 years to implement fully. A lot of times, senior leadership, they can't wait that long. They need to see something quick. Coming up with what that quick win could be. It could be defect elimination. We're the company this much because we're eliminating these defects, and providing that information is a valuable tool. So little projects like that show a quick return is a long way to go. So put you together, coming up with the plan, getting your quick wins, working on long-range goal, and then putting a continuous improvement process in place is really the process we recommend moving forward. So anyway, that's all I have. I thank everybody for their time, and so apologize for that. Thank you.
Hey, you did a great job presenting, and a lot of great information. So we're sharing it, and if you have any questions, please ask away, whether it's through the chat or the Q&A module. Now, Doug, we have a couple questions coming in. If you wouldn't mind, one is what percentage of maintenance work is planned out, or what percentage should be planned out?
Everything should be planned. Whether it's a predictive task, whether it's reactive task, whether it's a PM, all work should be planned. Things should be proactive. If it doesn't happen, you should have less than 5% of your work that's planned less than 2 weeks out. So there might be emergency work, but you have as close to 100% of all work planned when the right process is. And this goes even for inspection for operators. That should all be work that's in the CMMS. That's a work order that comes out that is completed. So that if something's found, you can go back in that work order, you go through and put what was found in there. So therefore, you have a complete history of what's on. So the more information you put in the system, the better off you're going to be down the road.
one more question that just came in. We're return on investment. Where's a way there where we can find an immediate return on investment?
Or there's a couple if it's critical. Obviously an online, if it's cost justified in the risk analysis, an online remote test can really, because what you're looking at is the cost of it not breaking down. So it's like a powerhouse. If that goes down, it can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars for hours. So by putting, monitoring on that, cost of unreliability is huge there. Secondly, if you're a small manufacturing plant, defect elimination is huge. I mentioned before about bearings going bad or vibrating. It could be due to simple tasks, processes, or putting things on incorrectly. So another quick turnaround is finding out what those failures are and turning it around to a training solution.
We came in, leadership, sponsorship at the beginning is essential. Even more important is leadership engagement throughout the whole process of change. I'm pretty sure you agree with that, Doug. Sponsorship, that's why he's there. He is the guy that clears the hurdles throughout the whole process. You need to have that executive person. So if it's between ops and maintenance, stores, anybody, that executive sponsorship, that is their job, is to clear the path for the implementing the program. Without that, things will fall through the cracks. They will not change, and back to square one. And last question, this will be it. And if you have any other questions, we'll answer them at the end. But Doug, what are your tips on communicating the vision and a strategy effectively? How should we go about that, and what's your recommendation?
Not only getting the communication to everybody, but have a focused team to start the process and success. Once that happens, that communication start to go out internally, then you can have a bigger communication session where to try this, it works, here's the results, we're motivated here to do this, we want to try this, a whole maintenance section itself. But the key is getting the role up front, communicating out to everybody, and then when you have a success, showing that success. It's simple as, a little party or a little pizza party or something like that, but showing that it's working, making sure guys are engaged, that we are improving down the line. That way, you're going to get more out of your people, too, that way. So it's essential to everything.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot, and thank you all for attending. We'll send the slide and this recording out within the week. Something to look forward to there. So we're going to wrap up. Thanks for attending once again, and for GP Strategies and Doug Robey, I'm Eric Neuhaus. I hope you have a great day.